are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Coaching Crucible, October edition. My name is Coach Gary Henson with BusinessCoach.com, and I'm here along with my partner, Mr. Drayton Boylston with Executive Coaching University. You want to say a quick hi? Drayton?
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
And we want to welcome you today, and we have a great program in store for you, and I see new people coming on and getting comfortable, so go ahead and get yourself comfortable and prepared for the next hour, where Drayton and I have some really great conversation today that we're going to have with you around money. So before we get into that, and while Drayton's getting us set up for that and getting the screen set up for that, I'd like to ask you all to send us a shout out for those of you that are on the webinar version and you want to click into your chat screen and let us know, can you hear me okay? Is my voice too loud, too soft? Is this coming across? Can you see your screen? Is everything set up as it usually is for the Coaching Crucible? So let us know that by typing into the chat area of your screen. And also what you might want to do is, Drayton and I have been talking about 2016. As you may or may not remember, November is our last Coaching Crucible of the year, and that happens next month at the same time. And we're wondering what topics that you would like to hear about and talk about. In particular, what controversial topics would you like us to talk about 2016? We're setting the agenda up, and we're probably going to come back to you a couple of times before the end of the year. But for right now, if any of you would like to type in some information there as to what controversial topics we might want to talk about in this coming year, maybe even starting next month. And we really want to stir it up, build this Coaching Crucible process that we do every month, this free, no sales zone that Drayton and I give back to the coaching community at large every single month. We really want to build it up to be a movement this next coming 12 months, 14 months. And we want to know what topics that you think would be really controversial and really things that you can learn and grow and develop your coaching business, not your coaching practice, your coaching business for this next 12, 14 months. So Mr. Boylston, are you ready to take it away on your end, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's get it started. So yeah, we've already gotten a lot of great comments, and to piggyback on what Gary was saying, we want to tackle the stuff that nobody else will. And we've been doing this now. Gary and I were chatting before the session, as we always do, and we're coming up on 3 years of doing the Crucible, and we have a tremendous portfolio of recordings. And by the way, go to YouTube, please, and subscribe to all the recordings. There are over 30-something of them now, and you can subscribe and get all of them, so you can go back to hear all the ones from 3 years ago, and all the ones that we'll be recording in the future will come to you automatically as well. So if you go to YouTube and just search for Executive Coaching University, and all the Coaching Crucible recordings will show up, and just subscribe. And that would be, you'll get access to everything. And of course, as Gary said, everything's free. No pitch zone, no ads, no anything. So go and check out the recordings, and we'd love to have you get even more information. So Gary, should we tell them what we're going to tackle today, the controversy today?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, and this may be the biggest one out there in terms of the coaching world. And again, as Gary was mentioning, please drop us a note here in your chat box and let us know some of the controversial things you want us to tackle. And we're going to add it to the list. We're going to continue with this theme for a number of sessions until we get all of these controversial things addressed to your satisfaction. And so we want to make sure that we're addressing the things that you absolutely want us to. And believe me, no topic is verboten. We're happy to tackle anything when Gary and I first started doing this, the reason we came up with the Coaching Crucible name is we're ready, we're the lightning rod. So if there's something controversial, we'll address it. So thank you all for being here. We've got a good crowd, more coming in. And Gary, I'm going to just click this over. We're going to start doing a little more on the video side. A lot of you folks that have been with us for a long time know that we typically don't have it, super structured, because we like that fluidity. It's fun for us, and hopefully it's really great for all of you too. And we're going to be speaking to some really serious points today. So we're going to have a slide up that really incorporates everything that we're going to touch on. And if you see something that you would like for us to address around the topic of money, please let me know and let Gary know, and we will certainly get it on here. And this is the list that we're going to be walking through today. So raise your hand, just a couple of folks, let me know if you can see this slide. It says Coaching Controversies, and it says money, 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 money. Can you guys see it okay? Okay, good.
I've got it nice and clear on my side. And
excellent.
Feedback.
Excellent, excellent. So Gary and I are going to just tag team on these and talk about these. Boy, we're getting a lot of good comments here, Gary. So the whole money issue, Gary, you want to jump in just with what you've gleaned from coaches around money and what you've heard from folks?
Oh, I knew you were going to stir me up early today, Boylston.
That's my job.
Here we go. Put your seatbelts on, everyone. As you know, Drayton, I talk to coaches around the world every single week, usually every single day, out of the country. And when I say out of the country, I'm talking about China, India, Africa, deep dark corners of the earth. It is amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing to me how many different little villages around the world, communities and big cities are in the conversation around coaching. And one of the first topics that comes up almost invariably is that people will tell me, I'm starving, I don't know how to get clients, I don't know how to charge clients, and so on and so forth. And then when we get around to the topic of how much are you charging, they'll say something to the effect of, I'm charging $50 a month, $50 an hour, $200 a month, $500 a month. And then I'll say, well, what are you giving people for that? And they'll say, well, I give them 4 sessions a month for $300 or even $1,000. And you and I are advocates of people getting paid what you're worth. So if you have gone to a credible coaching program, which in many cases is rare in my opinion, and you've been taught properly, again, I don't know a lot of people that have been taught coaching skills properly, but if you have that and you have a good educational background, you are definitely worth more than $50 or $100 or $200 per hour. Now, does this sound like I'm being greedy or self-righteous about this topic? Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with that. When you bring the kind of value that we advocate that you bring to the table, and when you are a coach and you can be a stand for somebody in these main 3 areas that I'm an advocate for, as a coach, and the 3 areas are: you bring an outside objective opinion, you bring you are a accountability partner, and you're bringing results and shining the light in areas where people either don't want to take actions, or they're afraid to take actions, or they're not getting traction and action and results in their business, in their world. Then you are worth more than a handshake and a few dollars. You need to be charging that to create, to generate, to have people understand the value that you're bringing to the table. Drayton, I have worked with clients, as you know, for over 26 years now, and invariably there'll be a session each and every month out of 3 or 4 sessions a month that I'll work with somebody and they'll put their hand, pound their open hand against their forehead and say, wow, I have been struggling with this issue for years. I would never have seen that, Coach Gary. I never saw that coming. I didn't understand that was, I didn't know the impact that this topic is having in my world, and therefore, Coach Gary, you brought thousands of dollars of future results and impact and effect on my business, on my world. Many times it overlaps into their family, into their marriage, into their relationships. I didn't see that. It was a blind spot for me, and it was worth, sometimes they say, a year's worth of coaching fees in 1 or 2 sessions. And if we're not charging, if we're not bringing that kind of value to people, then we are underestimating the ability, the impact of transformation, of coaching, and the kind of world that coaches are able to create. So, Drayton, back to you. I'm a big advocate of charging a fair price and having people understand and get the value because of what we bring to the table as world-class coaches.
Indeed, indeed. And I will offer up 2 tangible, real-world examples of the impact that you can have on not just individuals, but organizations as well. And I hope this reaches you in your heart and soul, so you take it as, yeah, I can do this, and I can have this kind of impact. And this is not about tooting my horn. This is about the realities of coaching. And one of the things that Gary and I are so passionate about is in terms of the impact we have. And so I'll offer up 2 tangible examples of whatever you think is a lot, you cannot charge enough to really convey what the changes in someone's life can happen because of our work. So the first one is this gentleman ran a nice sized business, and he asked me, we'd been doing some work with them, and then he was going through a really rough patch about what to do with his company, and the net of it is, and I'd mentioned this in a Crucible, gosh, probably a year and a half ago. The net of it is, he asked me to come over to his house. He made an appointment and asked to come over to his house. He happens to be a neighbor of mine as well. And to talk about where he is, because he was just so frustrated, and he asked how much, would it be, and I told him. And so during this session, I asked him one question that rocked his world, to the point where he ended up selling the business, making $7 million, and then bought it back and has just sold it again and made in the neighborhood of $9 million. All based on one question I asked him. Now, do you think he hesitated to write me a check? Do you think he was willing to pay a lot of money? And it's just, the question is, it was just a standard coaching question, quite frankly. It wasn't because of my experience in the business world or any school knowledge or anything else. It was just, I was in there with him. I was listening to what he was going through, and I made a simple observation, and he was floored. So that's millions upon millions of dollars of impact right there. The second piece I'll tell you is an organization that I've worked with now going on 12 years. And if you don't think you can have long-term engagements and relationships with coaches or the coachees and organizations, Gary and I will give you countless examples of why you can and how you can, and the way we've done it, and we've seen other people do it too. Started working with this organization. They were very, very small. Fast forward through meteoric growth. They ended up selling for $250 million 3 years ago. When they sold, 80 multimillionaires were created. The day after they closed, I got an email from the CEO saying, without your help, we could not have done this. I offer these up because this is the kind of impact that you can have in this work that we do. And so with the work we did with them in particular, we helped create 80 multimillionaires. Now, do you think they ever hesitate to write me a check now? Do you think they bellyache about that? Do you think they worry about the worth? And that's the kind of impact that we can have day in and day out. So what we tell people when they go through our certification training is, whatever you're charging currently, double it. So whatever, and here's what I'd like to do, Gary. Okay, so all of you that are with us today, and this is completely private, but drop us a note and tell us what you are charging currently, and then what that looks like doubled. And what I want you to do is go to that scary place, that big gulp place, that really? I can charge that? Well, I can tell you, having worked with just scores of people over the years and having them do this and having them fire their certain level of clients and then attract the new ones and do it at a much higher value to them and to the client and get past this scarcity thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. When you go to that place and you have the courage to take what you're doing and really go out there and charge more for it, magical things happen. All of a sudden, you're going to be walking a little more erect. You're going to put your shoulders back. You're going to puff out your chest a little bit, and you're going to come to your work, your business, with a bit of a swagger, knowing that you are doing the right things and having the kind of impact that coaching can provide to individuals. So Gary, what popped up for you as I was talking?
A couple things. Number one, when you charge the kinds of fees that Drayton is advocating, people will take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say it again. People will take you seriously. If you don't, they may not take you seriously. They may wonder if the value is really being delivered because you're not charging enough. And of course, you've probably heard us talk in the past. We charge based on a sliding scale, so the larger the organization, typically the more we charge them. The other thing is, Drayton, what came to mind for me, or I have two stories, and I'm going to give them the real short version, similar to what you're talking about. One client I was working with years ago was a internationally known powerhouse organization, and they said to me, going through the recession these last years, if they didn't have businesscoach.com as their coach, they're not sure if they could have sustained and continued in business. So what's that worth? We have 50 employees working for this organization. It was a third-generation company, and they might not have been in business had they not had a business coach and somebody walking them through some really tough times. And it's an internationally known product, internationally known organization, and yet they needed outside influence. They needed some support from the outside to make sure they were making the right critical decisions at these very difficult times. And then the other one is I've told this story as well in the Crucible, and that is at a board of directors meeting years ago, we had an annual retreat that I helped facilitate, and when the president came out and introduced to 25 executives at the beginning of the retreat, he said, before I introduce Coach Gary, I just want to let you know that I asked Coach Gary, our business coach, and many of these people were from international offices, so they had come from around the world and had not met me. They had heard of me and heard of the coaching process through others. and he introduced me and he said, I just want you to know that when we had businesscoach.com as our coaching organization for this last year, it was the best $100,000 that we spent last year in our company. Now here's a $150, $200 million company, part of a $1 billion organization, and the president, with the chairman of the board sitting right in the room, said the best $100,000 we spent last year was with businesscoach.com. So this is the kind of power that coaching brings to the table, and if you have it, if you understand it, if you understand how to present it, and of course that's a whole other conversation we can have at another time, Drayton, is how to present yourself and how to present your fees, then people are really willing to pay them because they're going to get a return on their investment. They're going to get payback plus for your time investment and your what your wisdom that you bring to the table in these coaching relationships.
Yeah, I hope this is hitting home with folks in terms of the power of what you can do and what you should charge accordingly too. So we're getting some interesting comments here, Gary, from some folks. Let me just, here's one here that we should probably address. So I love these, developing self without being selfish. I love that. Let's see. Some coaches come across as money first. As a coach, how do I project value for the client without neglecting my own survival needs? You want to jump on that, Gary?
Yeah, and I touched upon it a moment ago. One of the things that we do have time to talk about today, and we've got a lot more just in this topic, but you must be able to demonstrate, and I would ask everybody to write that word down, demonstrate the value of what you bring to the table, regardless of what you charge. If you charge $50 an hour, you need to be able to demonstrate that value proposition to your clients. If you're charging $1,000 an hour, and I know there's actually coaches that charge $2,000 or $3,000 an hour and people standing in line to pay it. And you must be able to demonstrate the value that you bring to the table. And the hint for everyone here is, and I've learned this lesson the hard way, Drayton. It took me years to get this internalized so that I really understood it. It's not the value that you think you bring to the table. You need to ask your clients, your potential clients, what they value most in what you can bring to the table. So, for example, you ask them, where's the biggest area that you're struggling? What are the things that keep you up at night? What unresolvable problems or issues are you dealing with that are continuing to go forward in your organization? And you must be able to, again, use the word, I'm using the word demonstrate the value that you bring to those issues. What you think you've done, what curriculum you've learned from, what methodology system you have, that's all important. But if they're asking for green, you want to let them know that you have a very valuable green program for them, and then later on throw your red stuff in there, whatever else you bring to the table that you've learned as well. But they must understand in their language the value that you're bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really important point, because I think a lot of people, when they enter into a coaching relationship, feel that it might be a bit nebulous because they don't have all the intel, if you will, that they need when they go shopping for a coach, or someone refers them, to a coach. So it's up to us to paint that picture for them and help them see what that looks like. And we've got an interesting question here from Anthony. So do you get paid on measured results? And then the greater the client need, the greater the value required. Absolutely, no doubt about it. So Gary, let's touch on that measured results piece. How do you tackle that?
If I knew what month it was, I would ask somebody to go back and listen to a recording that we did on this in the past. I went into some pretty exhaustive details, but what I typically teach my students and what I promise my clients is that if we can't measure a 3 times return on your investment up front, we don't really want to take on the client relationship. So people then say to me always, well, how do you measure? How do you know what you can do? Well, first of all, we need to look at is the person coachable? Are we taking on a client because we need the money, or are we taking on a client because they really need us? They need some outside influence because the blind spots are that they have, and all human beings have blind spots. So there's an opening for coaching everywhere. Donald Trump has a blind spot somewhere. Not just in his hairdo and in his old style, but
it's under his hat somewhere, Gary.
there's a blind spot in there that everyone has. The President of the United States, every major figure, and some of the actors that are great actors that you see today, they have blind spots, and their coaches work with them to work through that, so that when they get in front of the camera, they are their best. So back to the issue at hand here. So when we promise a 3 times return investment, we'll sit down and say, okay, so you've agreed to pay us $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, depending on the size of the company, or more, depending on who they are, and you're going to pay us X dollars. So let's list the projects that we think we want to work on first, and invariably, Drayton, they're increased profits, increased sales, holding employees accountable, decrease employee turnover, increase in new clients, and so on and so forth. So when they pick and choose those, and those are, and I'll add another one, working too many hours and not getting remunerated for the leadership team, working long, exhausting hours, and they're not getting the results they want. When we measure these things, and we pick at least 3 of these topics that are the initial focus of the coaching relationship, we look at that and say, okay, so your bottom line is 6% to the bottom line profit. What does your industry produce typically, or people at companies like yours produce? Well, we've seen people produce 8, 9, 10, 12% bottom line net profits, but we're only producing 6. Okay, great. So if we can increase your profit of your $20 million company from 6% to 9%, then that would be a good goal to shoot for. Oh yeah, we would love that. We can't see how to do that on our own, and so on and so forth. We set these goals. When you multiply them out and say, if we achieve half of these goals, is that going to be in excess of the money that you would pay us for that year or that month's worth of coaching fees? Invariably, it's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the key, Drayton, is for people to be able to demonstrate the value. So usually we do a little coaching session, the first meeting or 2 with them. We actually coach them through their blind spots and how they are thinking at a very small, thinking with a very small mindset. And if they could go from ordinary to extraordinary thinking and think bigger, of course, with the help and support and a little bit of a push from a coach, then they can not only make those numbers, but it's going to the coaching fees are insignificant, inconsequential compared to the results they get,
Mm-hmm.
and you demonstrated that in your 2 examples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very well said, Gary. And that's where approaching this with those business conversations with folks up front and setting the expectations and building that template for folks so they know exactly what it's all about. And it's incumbent upon us to demystify the whole coaching thing. And Gary did a beautiful job of that. I tell everybody all the time, it comes down to the math. Either what you paid me was worth it or it wasn't, and it all comes down to the math. It really does.
Yes.
Gary, let's shift over to silver bullets, and this is one that Gary and I are absolutely passionate about. And when we say silver bullets, there are so many coaches out there, and we've talked to folks all over the world that feel like if they take this one course, they buy this one product, they do this one thing, they get on this one platform, that it's the silver bullet that will solve all of their ills, and they'll be 10 feet tall and bulletproof and making $1 million a year. And the reality is that they do not exist. And Gary, should we be so bold to say that, have you ever seen someone's program out there that somebody spends $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on? Have you ever seen one that launched a coach into a really successful business?
Oh boy, you really love to just get me going, don't you? No, I haven't, but I'm gonna say yes, just for the sake of controversy, to create a thought process here for people to hear. As you know, Drayton, earlier this year I entered into and hired a new coach. So I don't know how many coaches that is that I've had in 26 years of being a business coach full-time and training business coaches full-time. But there was a silver bullet, and I want you to laugh, I want you to chuckle, come from a humorous place to hear this. I learned something about this topic that we're on today, something about creating the value for the client, creating the value for others, that I must have heard, Drayton, 15 times in the last 26 years. I've heard it 100 times the last 26 years, but I actually have sat down and have people walk me through. And you know the old, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear conversation? Well, I was ready, and I got the silver bullet, but not because it was the one program fixes all, but I cleaned out the earwax, I opened up my ears, and I heard for the first time something clearly enough and explained well enough to me that it actually ended up being a kind of a silver bullet conversation for me. But I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek because really, Drayton, the bottom line is, how many coaches have I had? How many people, how many programs have I attended? How many, I mean, I can't even tell you how many different programs this year I've attended because I'm committed to continuously learning. I'm committed to growing. And I go to programs on coaching, marketing, transformation, changing the world, changing my point of view, growth, change not for the sake of change, all kinds of new technology programs that affect the coaching industry or affect me as a coach or me as a trainer. I go to training courses, train the trainer courses all the time, and invariably, Drayton, when I think I'm taking a course and well, I probably won't get that much from this course. If I can just get one or two ideas, I get blindsided, and an opening happens for me. I go like, oh, I wish I would have taken this course 5 years ago. So if we're open, if we're willing, there can be a silver bullet, but it's probably a series of courses and books and recordings and podcasts that you take, that you listen to industry leaders and people that have not say they can do it, but people that have been there, done that, and have created value and gotten results, and teach a really pure course. Some courses I take, they teach you the what to do, but not how to do it. Other courses, they teach how to do it, but they don't give all the information. And people all the time tell me, Coach Gary, you give all your stuff away. How do you make any money? Because I don't like driving people up to the curb and giving them just enough information so that they think that I'm brilliant, or that they have to take one of our courses, drive them up to the curb and drop them off and say, have a nice day. I hope you figure it out. It's a lifelong process to become a world-class coach, and it's worth it because you love what you do, people get results, and you get paid what you're worth.
Yeah, I think what you just articulated really brought up for me the 2 points of differentiation around this. What I heard you say, Gary, was around personal growth around being informed about where the market is going, technology is going, the skill set, all of those things. And the difference I see is that the silver bullet approach is not, it doesn't come from a place of personal growth and education. It comes from a place of desperation. So these coaches that start their business and they think if they take this one course from this person who said you can get 2,000 clients in the next 5 minutes and you'll make $1 billion this year, there's a big difference there. And unfortunately, there are a lot of charlatans in our space that have gone out there and they've, as Gary said, these are not people that have done it themselves. The people that have done it themselves have inherent credibility and always ask the next question and verify these things before you give them your money. It's the people that are out there that are just the pure marketeers that are simply in this to take your money. And that's just the reality of it. And they're not in this space to be servants as we should be. And they're just coming in. They're either internet marketers, just thinly veiled as coaches. They're not really coaches. So please do your homework. Take your money, invest it in yourself, as Gary was describing he does for himself. And please don't think that if you take a $5,000 course that promises to build your business for you while you're sleeping, and think it's really going to work. I'm sorry, it's not. There's just no substitute for the hard work, for the investing in yourself, and some of these other things we're going to talk about in a second here. So there isn't a silver bullet. And I would look at these people that are out there touting these things with a very jaundiced eye and do your research before you give them the money. And quite frankly, do like Gary does and as I do in terms of investing in yourself. Just like Gary, I take a lot of courses. I'm always pushing myself, doing really different things that put me in a different, usually very uncomfortable place, and that's where the growth is. So just a word of caution there. There are no silver bullets. Gary, let's talk about the next one because this might well be the biggest one, and it's the mindset piece. It's the whole scarcity mindset. And what have you run across with the coaches?
A number of different categories here that we can talk about. One is a lot of the students that sign up for our programs at businesscoach.com have taken the silver bullet courses, 2 or 3 of them, and have not gotten the silver bullet that they hoped that they would get, and now they don't have money to invest in the right programs and the right methodology, system teaching. And one of the things I want to say about that is that one of the best courses I took this year was a 2-day course, and it was 2 full days. I mean, and it was under $500. In fact, I think it was under $400. So the dollar amounts that you pay for the courses, if you do your homework, does not necessarily indicate the value that you're getting. So it's not always the most expensive course gives you the best results. In fact, in this industry, I'd say that there's a lot of way overpriced courses that deliver mediocre results. The thing that I believe, and I'm going to use the coaching crucible here, Drayton, to answer your question. I think the thing that has been the biggest growth for me as a teacher, as a senior coach in the industry, as it relates to the coaching crucible, is every single month, Drayton invariably throughout the calls will start talking about the servant attitude and how to be in service to people. And if you're in service, the money will come, and so on and so forth. And it's, Drayton, you are just such a breath of fresh air because sometimes I get stuck on goals. Sometimes I get stuck on, we're having a bad month. We have a lot of overhead this month. We need to gin up the sales and so on and so forth. And invariably, within about a week later, a coaching Crucible call comes up, and then here comes Drayton Boylston talking about it being in service to people and so on and so forth. And it's been such a great reminder to me that every month you bring that up, and you kind of give me like a reset, Drayton. You reset my mindset every month and remind me why I got into this business, why I have driven away from so many clients with a big fat check in my hand, thinking, do they know that I would have done this for free just to see
yeah.
the results that we've gotten and the incredible breakthroughs? Sometimes owners of organizations, large organizations, they don't really want to acknowledge the breakthroughs, but they see the incredible changes in the mindset and in the accountability and in the integrity and in the results that their senior managers and middle managers get. They pull me to the side and they say, Gary, do you realize that this last month, what you've created, what we've created here, and continuous learning programs and so on and so forth. So if we're, money is a funny thing, Drayton, and I've got to confess, I have a kind of an awkward relationship to money myself, but money is a strange thing. We really have to get our relationship to money straight in our head and in our heart, and realize that the money is really only partially or part of a measurement of how we're doing, but it's not what we need to go out and generate in order to get results. The results, the money comes to you when you have that servant attitude and when you're willing to give and give and give to people. And people, in the last 60, 90 days, I don't remember in my entire life how many people have said to me how generous I am and what a generous heart that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I mean, you talk about sleeping well at night. You talk about, I can't wait to get home and have conversations with my wife about this, because we both really have a ministry mindset. Our mindset in these last several years has been really to minister to other people, to help people in pain and to help people rid themselves. And, I can't tell you how many programs I've given away and time and money and conversations. I prayed with a girl overseas last week, and she was just busting out into tears. Her life's just a mess, and she can't figure out why she can't make money. And I said, look, I think I would put the coaching process to the side and really focus on your marriage, your life, your relationship with your child, get your financial house in order, and you can always go back and create your coaching business, and in the meantime coach on the side. But we really have to have a right relationship with money in order to be able to charge the fees that we need to charge and bring the value to people that they really need to get. I'm not sure if that's the answer you're looking for, but that's the end of the mini sermon.
I wasn't looking for any answer other than just sharing your wisdom, Gary. And what you described that just pours forth from a servant's heart. I mean, you show up as that servant. You may not use that word as frequently as I may, yet you are a servant. You show up with it just the way, absolutely what you just said and the way you described it. That's a servant's heart. And that's showing up. I mean, to be a coach is to serve other people. And that's what we're here to do. And this, and it really dovetails into the whole scarcity mindset. Gary never thinks once about giving a program away, because he knows it's not going to be, it won't come back immediately from that one person that he gave the program to, maybe necessarily. Yet he knows in his big heart that it will come back because it's the right thing to do. We don't serve thinking that we're going to get something back in a boomerang immediately. We know that the boomerang's out there in the air and it'll come back at some point, and we don't worry about that. And the whole scarcity thing, we're not talking about, giving your stuff away all the time and giving your time away. There's so many coaches that do that. But the scarcity is the thought around, gosh, I just don't have this, I don't have that, and if I don't do this, I'll get this. And there's a whole mindset that is really prevalent in the coaching world around scarcity. And we hear it all the time from coaches. And if you're hanging around coaches or people that are in that space and that's the way they're showing up, and you hear things like, I can't afford it and I can't do that, and it's all these shoulda, woulda, couldas, separate yourself from that person or those people. And you are the sum of your 5 closest friends or relatives, the people you spend the most time with. And think about that. And the whole scarcity thing, I've worked with so many coaches around this, and it's just this insidious thing. And it starts with the negative self-talk that we, give to ourselves. And Gary, you've heard me say we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those are the exact same ones we had yesterday, and 71% of those are negative. Now, if you're in this scarcity loop and you're telling yourself, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't afford this, I can't invest in that, then that's a loop that's going to continue unless you decide to break that loop. And it's up to you. And it starts with this, turn your negative self-talk to positive self-talk, and find a way to do that and get some coaching around that. And then take inventory of who's around you. And what are you letting into your head from the media, from the folks around you? If you're around a lot of people that are talking about scarcity, you're just going to soak it up like a sponge. So please take inventory around that. The next subject, Gary, go ahead, Gary, please.
Yeah, Drayton, I want to elaborate just a little bit about that. And I want to speak to what you said and make sure that you and I are clear that Drayton didn't say if you have a negative thought, you're a bad person, or that every thought that Drayton has all day, every day is positive, and he doesn't have any negative thought. What he said is that hanging around the right people, having the right kind of thinking, and supporting yourself. And to those of you that don't have a coach, if you don't have a coach, then hire a coach and have somebody help you with the not positive thinking, just the straight thinking and the thinking that's going to get you where you want to be. Drayton, what I was going to offer up real quick is that every month when we do these calls, I start to send you an email and say, let's get together early and talk on the call, or what are we going to talk about this time or that time, or have you thought about this or that? And as I'm emailing you, I get butterflies thinking that, am I enough? Am I really a guy that can get on here with the Drayton Boylston and teach this class? And where it comes from, I have moments of negative self-talk, and where it comes from is a scarcity conversation from a child. And nobody told me when I was growing up that I'd be able to get in front of a crowd of people and speak or teach a class in front of thousands of people worldwide, and do trainings and speak with authority and conviction and share valuable information to people. And so there's always this little thought that comes up certain times, in my life. It's not often, but once in a while, and I know it comes from growing up and some of the things that I was taught and some of the bad habits as a younger person. So it's okay to have a thought, and it's okay to just say, wow, what would have me think that thought? And just acknowledge that it is a thought, acknowledge that it's negative, and just let it go. Let it go. And if you need help with it, like Drake says, you can find people to get around. But, every thought that Coach Gary has all day, every day is not a perfect and positive thought. And I work through those because I have trained myself and worked around knowing that once in a while they're going to come up. So I just want to put that into space, Drake, because people, maybe think that you're Superman or something, and that you never have a negative thought. It's just that you've trained yourself and worked around expectations around that.
Yeah, you're a beautiful man, Gary, and I love you, and so thank you. I I think that's a really powerful testimony around that. And you're right. The interesting thing is about all this, I guess if we could take put all of our thoughts in a Word document, you would see that Gary and I probably wrestle with the exact same things that all of you do. The difference is we've kind of trained ourselves to shift, and it's not ignoring the negative and just trying to turn it into a positive, because brain studies have shown that that doesn't work. It's more it's a level of awareness around these things and a level of transparency with ourselves that when I have a negative thought, I think, okay, so I try to be the observer, and where does that come from? And be curious about this versus beating myself up. I probably have as many negative thoughts as anybody out there. It's more, I try to be the observer and try to have awareness around them and just shift as much as humanly possible. But Gary, and I think this is a really interesting subject. We all have dark nights of the soul. We all do. I have not met a human being on this planet. We think so many people are just 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and they're that way 24/7. That doesn't work that way. I've run into super insecure people that most people go, how? No way, no way. So we all have these dark nights of the soul. It's the folks that have figured out a way to turn that into a learning opportunity and to be the observer and to love themselves through these dark nights. And
absolutely.
And that's a gift you give to yourself and to those around you. And I think, years ago, Gary, I would try to be that guy that was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and I had to come across a certain way, and I had to dress a certain way and drive a certain car and be in certain groups. And it was so incredibly stressful, and that's why I had the physical problems I did when I took my career time out, because I was putting all that pressure on myself, and it wasn't who I was. I was showing up as someone that I wasn't. And I didn't get that. It took me a long time to get that. So as we go through any of these things, folks, whether it's the scarcity mindset or any of these other issues around the whole money thing, give yourself some love. And one of the things that I use to turn these things around, and it's a shift, with the servant mindset. What I try to do and what we try to teach others to do is to shift it from being about you to about others. And that means that if you're out there in the world showing up to serve other people, you can't hold the pity party for yourself. You can't play the victim. You can't play that selfish person, and that's who I showed up as a lot. I was just selfish. When you flip it and you go, like coming into this session today, I always, before I get on a call, before I have any kind of teaching going on, I take some quiet time and say, I was telling Gary, I was meditating before we got on today, and I try to put myself in that, how may I serve? How may I serve? And when you show up there, you can't show up selfish. If you've got that in your heart, you can't show up selfishly, and you can't play the victim, and you can't go to that scarcity place. It's impossible to do that. So around that, and Gary, it's interesting, folks. We're going to be doing more asset sharing. We call them assets. So these are tools that we're going to be giving to you. And I'm just going to shift, Gary, because we've just got a few more minutes here. Around this, I was looking around some of our documents and what I would like to share with you folks today, and Gary's going to be sharing some more stuff. We've posted this happiness index, and if somebody would just, if you guys would drop me a note in your handouts, I want to make sure it's showing up for all of you. It should,
on the screen.
Yeah, it should say happiness meter, and I'll put it here. This is what it looks like. Can you guys see that? Yeah, Gary, you can see that? So
I can see it now, yes.
Oh, good. So Laura said it downloaded. Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Very useful. Good. I'm glad you guys like that. So we've got so many resources. Gary and I are talking about what he has and what we have at ECU, and these are things that we give to you. And go and use this and use it for yourself first. So this happiness meter, this dovetails beautifully with doing starting a gratitude practice, and we can talk about that more in depth in a future session. But it's more, we want to give you some tools that you can use for yourself and for others, and we'll be doing this pretty much every session going forward. So use this with our blessings, enjoy it, hopefully. And the happiness meter, it's I'm a competitive guy, and I know that comes from a fearful place, so I get that, and I work on those things. But this happiness meter is not a competition. It's not okay. I've got to be happy today. It's more helping you build awareness around this, and that is. Oh yes, I'm getting some great messages. Sorry, I'm just trying to read these and look at these at the
Talk
same
at the
time.
same time.
Yeah, which doesn't work so well for me. But the happiness meter is not a competitive thing. It's more building your awareness around choosing to be happy. And we believe that there's bliss in every moment if we choose it. And that's up to us to do so. So hopefully this will inspire you to look at this, use it for yourself, for your clients, with our blessing. And if you have any questions about it, just let us know. So Gary, we've just got a couple more minutes. What else comes up for you?
Well, I think if you give me a couple of minutes to get on my soapbox, I would say that one of the things that I'm very passionate about as we complete 2015 and move into 2016 is to have the Coaching Crucible become a worldwide movement. And we've been at this for 3 years now, and as far as I know, we have had almost no negative feedback, if any, and lots of positive feedback. We've had letters upon letters, emails upon emails of positive feedback of how much help people have gotten and how much clarity and satisfaction they've gotten out of getting questions answered that they haven't been able to get answers in other places. So to create a bigger, broader movement, I'd like to have people give us feedback, send us emails, and many of you know you can reach me directly, Gary, Gary, at businesscoach.com. What can we do to serve you better? What do we do to reach out to more coaching groups? Does some of you have coaching groups that you belong to, or ways that you can circulate our material and get more people on the call? The more people that we can help, the better, as far as I'm concerned, and the more people we can reach, the better. And the bigger the community, the bigger the amount of people that we have on the call, the broader and the deeper and the richer the dialogue would be from everybody. So that's what's top of mind for me, Drayton, is to grow the movement for the rest of this year and into next year. We have one more call left in November, and then we go into January. We take December off. So that's where my heart is right now.
Yeah, that's a great request, and bring your friends and others. We have almost 2,000 people signed up for the Crucible, and we'd really like to get more people coming with us, live to share their wisdom and have that collective wisdom show up. And we thank all of you for being here to do just that. And we'll do whatever it takes. We're very committed to this. Obviously, we've been doing it 3 years, put out a lot of information. And again, go to YouTube and search under Executive Coaching University. You'll find all the Crucible recordings there. We love this. We love you guys. We appreciate you showing up as coaches, and we appreciate what you do to serve others out there in multiple capacities. So we want to do everything we can to help you serve even better. So Gary, that's what's in my heart.
Okay, good. And I think we left off that we really want to serve the industry. We want to help the industry straighten out some of the wrinkles and and blind spots that the industry has. And here's an opportunity for us to create a movement where a lot of people can really make a difference in our industry. And I've always looked at business coaching and coaching as a very noble industry and a great way for me to make a living and serve a lot of people simultaneously. So I think that needs to be said as well.
Yeah, well said, Gary. Well, we're at the top of the hour, very respectful of your time. Thank you again for showing up. Thank you for showing up as the great people that you are. And if we may be of service in any way, just drop us a note. And until next time, as Gary said, we'll see you next month, and then we take traditionally December off and then reconvene in January. But until then, just enjoy yourself, be happy, choose happiness, and serve others well. So everyone, take good care.
Bye, everybody.